Well, good afternoon, and thanks very much for joining us on this cold January's day. My name's Fiona Harvey. I'm Head of Marketing and Communications at Tisski, and I'm delighted to welcome you here today for our first in the series of Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations live events. This event is going to focus specifically on streamlined procurement, so a very warm welcome to everybody that's joined us, and thank you. Just a bit about Tisski for those of you that don't know us. We are a leading Microsoft Gold partner who specialise in the implementation of CRM and ERP solutions. We work across the private and the public sector, and we're very proud to have clients ranging from sort of large enterprise clients such as NHS BSA, the Ministry of Defence, to smaller, more niche clients such as the British Museum and Royal College of Surgeons. So that's a bit about us. If you want more information, obviously go and visit our website. So just a bit about the webinar. It will be recorded so you can access it afterwards, always helpful post-event. If you've got any questions, please post them in the chat. They will only be available to us as moderators, so we can message you back and answer those questions. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Paul Sinnott. Paul's our heads up our F&O practice. So a very warm welcome to Paul, and I hope you enjoy the event. Thanks very much. Over to you, Paul.
Great, thank you, Fiona. So just as Fiona just mentioned, this is the first of a series. So I've got a few series coming up. First one is the Streamlined Procurement that we're going to go through today, and as you can see, a few more others there. Next one, Credit Management, Capital Management, Effective Month End, and then Cash is King. We'll have a little bit more information on the next session at the end of this one in terms of the date and distributing a link for you to register if you're interested. A little bit more about me. So firstly, to reiterate, Fiona, thank you for sparing some of your time today. Appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. So I started out life as a qualified accountant. I've been dealing with Microsoft ERPs for over 8 years now, including AX 2012, R2, R3, and obviously the current product we're going to look at today, D365 Finance and Operations. So I specialise in the solution architecture, design and delivery of D365 finance solutions, including supply chain management. If you'd like to connect with me directly, or if you have any follow-up questions after this session, please feel free to contact me on any of the channels shown here today. And then without further ado, we'll get a little more into the content. So what I'm hoping to cover today, objectives of our session today, is give you an overview of the D365 purchasing options, including centralised and decentralised purchasing, punch-outs and policy enforcement. The systemised tender and quotation process and how you can manage the entire process electronically from directly within finance and operations. We'll then introduce the supplier collaboration in a bit more detail and show you how suppliers can access your ERP directly in a secure and stable way. And then I'll give you an overview of the product pricing, contracts and contract management, including how you can track and monitor contract usage and effectiveness. So what I'll do now is I'll just jump into the application. So this is finance and operations. So for those of you who never accessed it before, to give you a brief overview. So this here is the home page that you initially land into when you log in. The role I'm in is a system administrator. So you see a lot more information than typical BAU role, but just to give you an overview of what it is you're looking at. All these little squares in front of the screen here are what are referred to as workspaces. We'll be using these throughout the demo to try and give you an idea of how you can apply them in your roles and your business going forward. You've got your company identification at the top, in this case Tisski Limited. So if you have multiple legal entities, you can easily access and store them here. And you've got your idea of where you're operating in all the time at the top right hand corner. And also specific to each user, I have a list of items if I have any work items or tasks that I need to configure that I'm presented with as soon as I log on. And as with most modules, you have a typical burger bar with your navigation across all modules. Like I say, just to reiterate again, this is a system administrator role. This is not what a typical user would see. Just a little bit more on the workspaces, and so we'll go through a little bit more detail as we go through the demo as well. So workspaces are personalized role-specific pages with data, reports, transactions, and they're designed to create efficiencies in your day-to-day tasks. So for example, you have a supplier invoice into your workspace for an AP clerk, or a ledger, budgets and forecasts for the more finance roles. Now, what I'm going to start with is the employee self-service workspace. So this is my workspace for me, with a few of the common items that I would expect to do as a generic employee. So this is non-job or role specific. This is employee specific. So some of my activities. So I get a little summary of any work items I need to do. Well, we know that's nothing because we've just seen on the initial screen. Any questionnaires I'm required to complete. I've got access to my company directory. Any purchase orders that are ongoing, or my requisitions, and I've got expenses information to create and submit new expenses, links to some reports, and also if I'm a member of a team or a manager, I can access various information about my teams. In this case, I'm not a member of a team. I can manage my team's performance goals, reviews, assess skills assessments, etc. This is all from my work. This is just an example of a workspace that kind of say this is where you'd come to do typical duties as an employee. So what I'm going to start with is the overview of the purchasing processes. So what I'm going to do first is do a decentralized purchase. So obviously different businesses operate different ways. Depending on your systems, you may operate a centralized or decentralized purchase, or something in between. What I'm going to show you here is how, if let's say for example you had a completely decentralized purchasing process and you're allowing users to create their own requisitions right on the shop floor, or the cold face, then submit centrally and be handled and processed centrally. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be an end user, a manager, team manager, office manager, and I'm going to create a new requisition. I'm going to recognize the fact that we're getting to the end of lockdown now. The team are coming back into the office, and actually what I need to do is I need to get some training booked to make sure that the COVID's secure. So what I want to do is I want to book some COVID safety training. Now I've no idea who I'm going to get this from. My request is, when I'm raising it, my accounting date is for financial purposes. So if you're thinking about budget tracking or commitment tracking, financial cash flow forecasting, this is where your accounting date comes in terms of when you actually want this purchase to commit. So I'm going to, it's going to actually tomorrow. So I'm going to raise it for tomorrow. I want someone to come along because they're coming back into the office tomorrow. So first day, and the date is within January, so I don't mind for the commitment. So I'm going to create safety training. Like I said, I don't know who I'm going to raise it from, because I've no idea what I'm too busy managing my BAU activity to know what suppliers we have agreements with, or even how much these kind of things will cost. It's such a new thing, I've no idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new line, and I'm going to select my category. Now, procurement category hierarchy is effectively a way of classifying your items and services for reporting and analysis. It typically represents your purchasing profiles for your business. Often these can be standardized for, there may be often certain purchasing structures in the public sector, for example, or can be specifically made for your requirements. You configure these. This allows, effectively it means people are picking the type of spend and not worrying about coding for main accounts, things like that. So I know I need some training. I'm going to select training. I don't know where it gets coded to in the accounts. I just know I need training. I don't need to put a code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's just going to get done. So I'm going to ask for COVID safety training. Like I said, I've no idea how much it's going to cost. I've never raised it before. I just know I need one session. So I'm going to leave the price blank and the supplier blank. So I just don't know who. So typical, I want something in the business. I don't know where from, and I don't know how much it's going to cost, but I need it. Check my address of where it's going to come. It's going to pull through my default address. So yeah, that's fine. My office address. And the other thing I just want to check is my financial dimension. So this is your attributes that you're going to, this is where we're going to bear the costs of this training. So it's defaulted my own, so I'm not having to do anything. I'm in the central finance cost center, so that's fine. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to leave that. Yeah, that's all fine. I'm going to get some training, and I'm going to send that off into workflow for a review. Now, what the workflow is, it's effectively a way of automating your business processes. So in this case, what I'm automating is the review and subsequent approval of this requisition. The workflow can run on various attributes in this document that you're looking at. In this case, what it's actually going to do is, because I haven't selected a supplier, it's going to say, oh, you need a supplier here, recognize that you don't know who it is, we're going to send it to someone in procurement. So what it's going to do is route this document through the workflow rules that we've configured in this instance. Now, again, we can configure them to meet your specific requirements. You're going to route them through to the procurement team and say, this needs a review by you because it needs some information. You need to select a supplier and a price before it goes out. Now, it typically runs every minute on a batch process. I just need to give it a moment to come through. If I just actually go back to my workspace. I'm going to assign the work items. If I just refresh. Back there, that just needs a refresh 9 minutes ago. Like I said, some of these I'm trying to demo live, so you refresh, but I can see in my workspace, if I was here, I'd see the one work item assigned to me. I'm going to select that and go procurement reviews required on this requisition for safety training. I go into it. And because I'm in a procurement review, I can edit this. Now, I can only edit this because I'm at this stage of it's asking for input from me. If it was out for approval, I couldn't change it. So you can't be having people changing your dimensions, amounts, etc. For something that they shouldn't be allowed to do, to reflect something that someone hasn't requested. So I know, okay, COVID, so we've actually we've not got a contract in place yet, but we know we're in the process of negotiating. But I know Allsop and Allsop offer it, and they do it £500 a session. Okay, so I'm happy. Yeah, done the training, done the supplier. I can check the address, financial dimensions, etc. That's all fine. I'm going to complete my task. So I'm going to complete the procurement review and input. And what I'm seeing, because I put an amount in now. Now it's only a warning, because for the purposes of this, we're not going to go into any detail on the budget control. But this is effectively checking my budget and saying you don't have £500. On that main account. Remember, we didn't pick that main account, we just picked training, so the user doesn't need to worry about the main account. They're just much more user friendly. But for this dimension, you don't have the budget. Like I say, for this, it's just going to warn and allow, but depending on your internal requirements, you can have it stop people, you can have it allow for one person but stop for another, depending on their seniority level. You can have it warn for everyone, or you can just have it switched off and not warn for anyone. It entirely reflects what you require as well. Different thresholds can be assigned as well to warn when it gets to 80% or 90%. So for the purposes of the session today, we have it allowed to override. So I'm just going to get the warnings. It's not going to stop me because we're not going to worry too much about the budgeting today. So I've completed my purchasing review now. And the next step in my workflow that I've configured, and if you notice, it's all completely locked now because it's been completed and it's gone for approval. And it's straightforward approval in this case. It's gone to my line manager. It can go to someone based on what it is you're buying. If maybe a training needs to be approved by HR and then go to the line manager, you can assign it based on value, the cost center, whatever it is you need it to be approved or based upon, you can have that built into the workflow rules. So I'm just going to wait for a moment for it to come through. That's now cleared off. Like I say, it does refresh on a 1 minute cycle. It's like a very long time when you're waiting, but I can show you it is very quick. Let's go back on. Let's go back to my requisitions. And I've had an email now. So what I'd like to say, this has gone to the line manager. Now, typically, depending on your seniority of your users, they're going to have different usage levels. So typically, the higher the level, the more senior person, the less likely they're going to be in the system doing day-to-day their activities. They may be more out doing other BAU activities, non-system. So let's say, for example, this line manager, they're not in the system very often, so they need to be notified that something's arrived. So what I'm actually getting here is I'm actually getting an email to say, by the way, you've had, and I'll just pull it up onto the screen now. So I've had this email come through. By the way, Paul, has requested some training. some COVID safety training for £500. Can you click on this link and navigate? So I'm looking at my Outlook, so I can go onto the link and it'll take me as a manager. I'm not having to be in the system looking at alerts. I'm getting a prompt to say, by the way, this needs approving. I can click on it, it takes me straight to the document. I can select the requisition to have a bit of a review and go, oh yeah, okay, no, I know what this is, it's fine. Just double check what's the cost center it's going to. Yeah, 500. I'm perfectly happy with that. And I can approve that and send that off. So that's now going to get converted into a purchase order and sent out to the supplier. So that's a bit of an overview of the decentralized process. So what I'm just going to do now is just show if it was a centralized, you maybe had someone nominated either as a part of a team or more centrally as procurement as to be responsible for an area of the business to raise requisitions. And also show how you can enforce some of the policies that you may be applying internally. So if I raise a new one, and I'm going to call this one advertising. So what I'm going to do is, I know I've had an email from someone. Now we can, depending on how you want to manage, if you centralized or decentralized, we can have you can have a request for a new requisition coming via an email. Say, oh, Paul, can you please raise this requisition for me? Or you can have we can have an app set up for people to submit the information in and automate a bit more of the process, or however it is you need, or whatever it is you want to set up in terms of your purchasing habits, we can set that up for you. So in this case, I've had an email from Jane Doe. She wants some, sorry, not for Oscar, it'll be from, you want some advertising. So I'm going to select raise it. Now you see the requester is myself at the minute, but actually it's not me that's buying this, it's Oscar. And the reason this is key is because any approvals you're going to set up around this person, going to the line managers, it'll go to Oscar's line manager. Any access that Oscar requires, so if they're wanting to access a particular catalogue, it will be based upon the user, not me, even though I'm completing it. So this is, you can make sure that only users are only asking and requesting for information that they're allowed. So in this case, I'm just going to say I'm going to raise some for advertising. It's going to be a new product launch. I know I've been discussing it. I've done some check, and now it's going to be £20,000. And let's pick Allsop and Allsop again for 20,000. Now, one thing I'm going to do is it's actually going to be HR that take this cost. So they're going to take PR is going to take it. Now, if you notice, I've changed the cost center and the business units automatically changed. So depending on whatever string you have, you could have a business unit, a department, a function additionally in here for that string. You set it so that the user selects the lowest level and the rest of the string is populated. So you're maintaining the integrity of those attributes to support your reporting and accounting later on in the process. But again, the user, all they're concerned about is what cost center is it going to. Again, the system's enforcing the correct governance and internal controls and processes to make sure that it all hangs together for you at the end. So I'm going to try and send this in. Now, what it's going to do, it should kick in and say, hang on a minute, you're spending £20,000 here. You need to specify a reason. Oh, of course, because I've not got a contract for these, and I'm spending over 20,000. And then we've actually got an internal policy that says we've got some internal purchase policies, standing orders to say actually, if anything over 10,000 needs 3 quotes. We've got certain policies that we need to adhere to. Okay, right. I'm going to raise. I have got my 3 quotes, so I just completely forgotten to do them. And what I need to do now is actually, I'll just update my reason, say the quote, so it populates on the line. I've got my quotes, but I can't actually remember how I attach them. So this company's actually allowed for me. So actually, I've got my training documentation prepared for me. So what I'm going to do is load my training documentation, just to remind me how it is that I attach these documents. I can't exactly remember where it is I attach them. So I'm going to select my training library. Now there's 2 here because today, obviously for yourself, for anyone going live, they'd have the single environment training library. So I'm going to click on my training library. I'm going to go through, well, I'm purchasing something. Oh, okay, I'm attaching a purchase requisition document. Now you can see a lot of processes here. Supplier collaboration processes, management new supplies. That come ready to go, defined by Tisski for your business process, and we can tweak and update and amend them for you. So I'm going to, for this place, I'm going to show attach purchase requisition documents. Show me how to do that. I'm going to select that one. Yeah, I'm going to open this task guide. Now it'll show me the steps. That's good, but can you just show me? So I'm going to start the task guide. And what it's going to do is it's going to walk me through. So select my record. I'm going to select the record. And it's going to purchase requisition line. Ah, yes, no, okay, I do remember now, attachments, and then, yeah, it's going to say create a new one, files. It literally walks you through step by step. So browse, just going to browse to select new. There's my quote. I'll add that in and save, and then close the page. And then that's the task guide, right? Okay, so it's walked you through. Now that's just an example of it. That walks you through all of your business processes. I can repeat that now to attach the others, either just off memory or can restart the task guide. But what I'm just going to do now is I'm going to clear that, and then I'm going to submit that to workflow for approval. So that's to show you if it was a bit more centralized procurement and you were buying on behalf of someone else, and also how you can enforce some of your internal standing orders. So you need to, I'm just getting my word in the budget, that's fine. You can enforce now, if you're not purchased against a contract, you need 3 quotes. You can have certain things like, well, if you're buying from this supplier, it needs to be, you need this information specified in it. So some of your, depending on what it is, you can enforce some of your purchasing policies at the point of entry. So you're not adding or cleaning data up through the process, you're doing it right first time. Okay, and the last thing I just want to show you is if I'm wanting to buy an item that we don't stock. So I touched on earlier, I'm going to say I want a new surface. I touched on earlier catalogs. So purchasing catalogs are available to users based upon what you want them to see. So in this case, I can see my purchasing catalog is my procurement category. I've got no, I can see everything that's available to buy. I can see all the items that are available to buy based on the node that I am at in the catalog. So in this case, I'm actually going to go down and I'm going to select some office machines, and I'm going to select computers, and I get to see the 2. It's not, but it's not that one I want. If it was, I could select this. These catalogs can be set to specify for your users. So you could have an IT catalog, which only showed IT categories and items for IT users, admin for admin users, etc. So you can set your categories so that users can only see and access information that you want them to be able to buy. So again, you're enforcing it at the point of entry to make sure it's right before the process even kicks off, saving yourself any admin burden or headache later on down the line. So it's that, it is a surface, but it's not that one. So what I'm going to do is I know who I want it from Amazon. So what we've actually got set up is we've got a punch out arrangement set up with Amazon. I'm going to go on to Amazon external catalog, and I'm going to access Amazon. And what I'm effectively doing is accessing their live catalog, so their website, their current list of items. So this is an Amazon business account. Right, I need a new surface. So I'm on, this is Amazon business directly from F&O, and it is, that's the one. It's a little bit cheaper, a little bit thin. I don't need to spend £1,400. Yeah, that is the one I want. I'll add that to my basket. Do I want the insurance? No, not in this case. That's fine. I'll be careful with it. What I'm going to say is I can carry on adding or can submit these to. So what I'm going to do is submit these for approval. What it's going to do is send it to. Oh, sorry, a brief internet interruption. Apologies for that. Bear with me 1 moment. The internet just dropped out for a brief second, so I'll just jump back in there and redo that. There we are, my new surface. There we are, right. So external catalog, Amazon. Surface Pro 7, which one? There we are. Add that to my basket. Submit these for approval. There we are. Just brief introduction on all fine now. So it's pulled that item, all that information in, product name, all from Amazon, and it's just asking me, because obviously I've taken, we don't maintain Amazon's catalog internally. What I'm just going to do is change this. Okay, it's for computers. It's asking me what catalog category. Now this is needed because that's how we're going to code it financially in the background. So just need to, well, it's computers, so that's fine. I'm going to add that to the requisition. So I've now gone onto Amazon's website, pulled up item from there that we don't stock, we don't maintain, and I'm going to order that now. So it's going to be shipped from Amazon. Going to get a monthly bill from them because of the arrangement we've got set with the punch out process, and I'm going to receive my service as I would expect. So there you are, punch out showing you how you can not have to maintain all your suppliers' items, all their pricing, all their different attributes and items. And Amazon is one that allows punch outs. This is something that is available to you if Amazon is a site you use regularly. And that's how you can easily punch out from a third-party supplier website. So that's all I was going to show you on purchasing there. Do we have any questions in the chat, Fiona? Or?
Yeah, I've got a question here, Paul. Can you have line level approval on the purchase requisition document?
Yes, you can. Literally any attribute within that document you can. So line level on the line you can have by the spend type, the amount on that particular line, the financial dimensions, or any attributes you can, yes, and you can build that into the workflow approvals.
No other questions at the moment, Paul.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to jump on now to the request for quotation process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off my employee hat and I'm going to move to a more procurement purchasing role. So I'm going to jump onto a different workspace here. So before I have my employee workspace, I'm going to go into my purchasing workspace here and I'm going to go talk about the request for quotation process. The F&O RFQ process allows you to create demand for an item or service, outlining any key supply requirements you may have in terms of you need to have certifications or experience, etc. You might have to requirements complete a questionnaire. You can submit and maintain the entire process electronically, captures the supplier clarification questions, any responses they have, score them, and then compare those supplier responses on the RFQ to make sure that you're not only selecting the most suitable response, but you're also documenting and evidencing the entire process to support compliance with any internal or external processes that you may have and policies. So in this case, I'm going to create a new request for quotation. What I'm going to say is actually it's going to create this request for quotation that should create a purchase order. What I'm going to ask for is I actually want some highlighters. I'm going to say 10,000 highlighters, but I want some blue highlighters. I want them delivered on 1st of Feb. When does this request for quotation expire? In a month? Yeah, that's fine. The delivery address? Yeah, that's all fine. So I'm going to create that now. So I can specify an item or category. Now it's a consumable, it's not a stocked item. So I'm going to specify, so it's actually highlight this procurement category that I'm looking for. I'm going to scroll down to my, there we are, highlighters is what I want. I want blue highlighters. Delivery on the 1st of Feb, and I want 10,000 of them. Now I only want to pay 15p a highlight. I don't know if that's achievable or not. I'll find out when I get my responses. Just like with anything, I need to put my dimensions on. In this case, I'll say this is, again, I'm going to, HR folks have been very friendly and paying for this one again. So I'm going to say this one is strategic marketing, picking this one up again. And again, the business unit's automatically populated. Double check the address if I like, but no, that's fine. That's what I want. Let's put there my template there, delivery. And what I just need to do now is say, well, who am I going to send it to? So I'm going to my header and I'm going to select my suppliers. Now I can manually add them, search for them, or I can just automatically add them. Now this will automatically add suppliers that are approved for what I want. So the type of spend now is highlighted, so stationary in this case would be the higher category. If they're approved for that, they can be automatically added. Now I can add additionals if I want, or I can add none at all. Now that's very much a public sector feature. So the send and publish, sending is to distribute and publishing is to just effectively confirm this RFQ without specifying suppliers. It effectively allows you to create an integration to a third party, BLPD or other procurement data source, so you can make this available with an integration without having to specify suppliers, because you don't want to, you're not allowed to restrict it, and also you don't know who's going to respond. In this case, I've selected these two. For information, Coventry are just going to be a normal supplier relationship, but Staples have actually got a supplier collaboration relationship set up with them. I'm going to send and publish that out to them. They'll get their emails to say, by the way, you've been invited for a to respond on this quote. What I'm going to do is the two ways of responding now. So let's say Coventry have come, they're great, they've come back and they've sent us their email response back. So I'll go back to my, just refresh, show you my quote. So I've come back in, blue, okay, I've had Coventry come back, and I'm going to manage my replies. So Coventry have come back and said, we can do it, but it's 16p. We can do it for. So my reply, I know you went for 15, but we can only do 16. It's the best price we can do. Okay. I'm going to submit and then submit this. This is from so this is Coventry submission. The best price we can do for 10,000 blue highlighters is 16p. Okay, great. So that's that page submitted. Now I'm going to score this because I'm like, it's all right. It's not great. My scoring, I'm going to do some scoring. I'm going to just various attributes on this. In this case, I'm going to score it with a cost of low cost, because not perfect. I'm going to do 50. It's not a million miles over, so it's just a little bit low, 15. On the other side, I'm going to put my Staples hat on now. So Staples, like I say, they've got access to our environment, our ERP. We've set up a supplier collaboration relationship with them and we've given them access. So I'm going to log on now. I'm Staples sales department, had my email. So again, I see this is the same system, but I'm seeing it from a supplier perspective. I don't see this. I don't have the same access. I've got the access that's been defined for me. I'm going to go on to my supplier bidding because I know I've had an email and I've got, there we are, blue highlighters. I've had a bid. Let's have a look at this one. So I'm going to look 10,050. Do you know what? We can do that 15p. Yeah, that's fine. What's the date? It was the delivery date first. That's not a problem. So I'm going to bid for that, confirm. So yeah, we're happy to meet that. I'm going to submit that. So again, remember I'm Staples here doing this now. I'm going to submit that request. I successfully submit my bid. Okay, so I can refresh my screen. That's gone now. I can see as well as while I'm here, I can see some other bids, anything that's come back to me, any bids that are in progress. So these are bids which I've potentially are still active. There's some here that I've responded to, like the one I just responded to here. Any that have been awarded to me, I can see as well, just for history. I can manage my bid process from the collaboration website. I'll come back into the collaboration a little bit more, so I'll just minimize that for now. Now, if I come back, you see, notice the status is here, should change. The now chains as received, because I've received all my responses. Now, if you notice, the Coventry I put manually, but actually the Staples was automatic because I've done it. So if I go into manage replies, you can see that Staples have actually come back. Yeah, Staples account, we've got the status was received, because received their quote, 10,000, 15p, perfect. So I'm just going to give them a good score. They're on the nose, but they didn't beat it, so I'm just going to give them 18 because it's great. It's a good price, but it would have been nice if they could beat it. And obviously, I'm just trying to give you a bit of a preview here. You can also make it as extensive as you can be, various quotation processes. But last thing to just do would be, okay, I just need to pick who I'm going to go for now. And compare my replies, and I've got, okay, so I've got just show my account number here. So I've got my Staples for 18. I've given them a score of 18 and 15, and this could be a different person doing this assessment. And they're also the cheapest price. It's no brainer for me. I'm gonna go with the Staples. I select Staples. I'm going to accept it. accept staples quote. So not only is it going to accept staples, and it's going to automatically create the purchase order off the back of this, it's going to reject Coventry's automatically as well. So you're not having to manually go through, and any others that would be rejected, it's going to reject there for you as well. So you can see if I look at my messages, request for quotation is complete and purchase order 707 has been created. And if I just flip back into my supplier collaboration, go onto my purchase orders, and I go to open confirmed, I've now got 707, which is the order that's literally just been created for them. So again, it's that straight, slick, supplier gets it straight away, no delay, automatically created, because you've done the review, you've done the price, you've done the approval process, boom, give it to the supplier, it's right, we've got it confirmed, let's ship the goods. Okay, any questions on that, Fiona, before I move on to supplier collaboration?
Yeah, I've got one here asking, can you connect to third-party procurement sites, e.g. BLPD?
You can, yes. So if you, the public sector functionality allows that. So by adding the publish option of the RFQ, you would publish it to effectively a table which makes the data available open to integrate to another third party, such as BLPD or any other purchasing website. So yes, that is something that can be done.
No other questions, Paul, thanks.
Okay, great. Right, so I'm just going to jump back on. I'm going to be a bit of a staples role now. So I'm going to be in the supplier collaboration. So I'm just going to reopen and jump back on. So a little bit more on the supplier collaboration portal. So just as a reminder, this is a direct portal into your ERP system that you can use for your approved and licensed suppliers. Their access is restricted. They don't get, you can see between the two screens, you don't get the same access. And they only do the activities you would expect them to do. It's based upon the security roles you give them, and you can also further control it if you want. You can put workflow around some of the activities they do as well, so they can confirm invoice orders, etc. And you can actually put workflow in your system to actually control whether they're automatically updating your system or you want someone to just verify it. Ultimately, it comes down to what your internal control policies are like, and also the relationship you have with that supplier. So I'm just going to show you here. Firstly, is just jump back onto the purchase order confirmation page. Like I say, the one we did before, so this is being confirmed now. Our transport team, order fulfillment team's now shipping that order, so I don't need to worry about this coming the sales side. But I've actually got an order here that they've sent through. That's for review. So it's order 705. And what are they asking for here? So they're asking for pen or pencil sets. Okay. They want it by today. That's not going to be possible, is it? That's fine, but I'll ship it. I'll just send them a note so it's going to ship. Now I can change this if I like, say change the delivery date. In this case, I'm just going to accept it for the purposes now. So yeah, that's fine. In fact, no, I want to keep a good relationship. I'm going to maintain. So what I'm going to do is suggest a change. What this is going to do is I'm going to say the delivery date is just not possible to do that on that date. So I can get it to you by Monday. Oh, that's Sunday. I can get it to you by Monday, the 1st Feb. Save, and then I can accept that. Which so what I'm basically saying is I'll accept this if you're with these changes. So I've accepted it now and sent that back for changes. Now on the other side, if I just refresh that now, it'll be gone. I'm now awaiting customer action on that order 7, so I've accepted with changes. So I now need that, just waiting for that for Tisski Limited in this case to look at that and go, okay, the delivery date's updated, that's fine. When that then gets accepted, that can come through here. So this is how I can manage and have that conversation with the purchaser. You can go to and fro, they can update the order, all managed electronically. It's instant because it's the same system. You're not relying on integrations to different systems. They're accessing the same system. I've got some summary tiles here as well, just the information I'm seeing. Also, just to jump back, I can see supplier bidding portal we touched on earlier, to see manage my bidding process. And also some supplier information if I want to maintain my personal details. I can look at the contacts that Tisski have set up for me. So again, this is Tiski's system I'm looking at. Users, so these are users are accessing the Supplier Collaboration portal. I can request new users. They get approved by Tisski Limited, and then ultimately the user would then get an email for a logon details to go on, set up a password, and they would have access. And like I said, any personal details or address details I want to do for the company here. And also obviously invoicing. So not to do anything to do with receipting or shipping, because it's up to the customer, in this case, to receipt and acknowledge receipt of those goods or services. So in this case, I'm just going to go on the invoicing. So in this case, I've got no draft invoices ready, none that are submitted and waiting approval. I've got one approved that's on post that I'm waiting for them to pay. So when that gets paid, I'll see a status of paid. So not only am I seeing where the invoices are at, I'm seeing when they're paid instantly as well. So I'll get a remittance, but I'm also getting a notification on here as well. And there's actually an order that I know we've shipped, that we've received. I'm going to invoice it. So I can come on and select, and it's going to give me my list of orders. Now, if you think 707, the one that we've just created from the RFQ, I know that one's not gone because we've not shipped it yet. We've actually shipped these, and I can invoice and send these over, and it'll prompt Tisski to say, look, suppliers invoice, but we've not received it. And that's where you can get into your whole invoice processing and how we're receiving, how we're managing through invoice matching discrepancies, etc. What I'm going to do is I'm going to invoice for this one here because I know they've received it. Invoice number is for Staples, and it's invoice 123. Invoice today, I'm going to send it. I'm just going to call it invoice the description. Now, this is me, remember, as Staples posting the invoice. So I'm going to create the invoice. Yeah. And save. So that's now, again, I'm getting the warning for the budgets, but that's fine. That's now created the invoice and posted, and I'll go through the approvals on Tisski Limited side, depending on whether it just automatically get posted or workflow. Again, it'll come down to what you want to do, the relationship you have with your suppliers. That can be automatically posted, go straight through to payment, because, well, if it passes is the three-way match. We've approved the PO, we've received the goods, there's nothing more to do. The invoice matches, let's just get it through for payment. Or, you know, early days, new to a lot of people, you may want to just have that check is what is my supplier putting onto my system. They can only put on PO invoices that are linked to POs. Can't put on completely blank invoices. So it's very well restricted and controlled. In fact, you originate and control everything that supplier does in this case. But so that's a bit of an overview of the supplier collaboration. Do we have any questions on that, Fiona, before I just move on to contract management?
Yeah, just one question. How easy is it to set up suppliers, Paul?
So there's various ways you can set up suppliers. Actually, you can set them up yourself. So I, as an employee, Tisski could go and create a supplier and send them a link. You can initiate it if you give the supplier access from the user screen that we just looked at earlier. Or you can even set up, if you want to have it, you can set up for the suppliers to come to you and create an account themselves. So this could be something where we create a Power App and host that on your website for a portal for the suppliers to come on. They can register for their for a collaboration relationship with you, which should then feed into F&O. That would get approved internally. Obviously, we wouldn't do it automatically, be approved by, say, the purchasing department. But yep, that's fine. We know who they are, and that would then automatically create and give the supplier access as well. So it ultimately depends on how you want to operate. Like I say, you can give them a link to do it with approval. You can do it manually, or if they're already existing, they can create new users. Okay.
Okay, great. No other questions at the moment, Paul.
Okay, so I'm done with Staples now. Like I said, as you would expect, they're not doing too much. They're just doing what they need to. But it really does significantly reduce that manual steps, the time between transactions, by having the supplier access to your system for you. So the last thing I just want to cover is purchasing and contract management, as a purchasing contract management. So there's two primary methods within Dynamics Finance and Operations for capturing supplier specific item pricing and discounts. And these are called trade agreements and purchase agreements. And both are very useful and both used for very different purposes. Ultimately, it'll come down to what it is you need, and we can obviously have that conversation and make sure we're using the system best for the best of your requirements. Obviously, we have best market approaches, but we need to obviously have that review with you as well. So trade agreements are typically used when the pricing is on a per order basis, and you're not needing to track against a commitment. So it doesn't matter how many times we order, or this is the price. And that can be something that quite an agreement that's just made available to a lot of people. It's nothing specific to you. So if I just show you on my work purchase order preparation, if I just look at some of the trade agreements to show you an example of that. So this Microsoft Surface agreement, so have a look, and it's with Microsoft. And what it says is every time I buy a Surface from Microsoft, this item specifically, if I buy 1 to 5 units, it's £1,400. Actually, if I buy 6 to 20, it's £1,200. Now this can obviously be open-ended. With the purpose of this, I've just put a finite amount. Now this would kick in if I did 4 orders of 5, I'd be paying £1,400 each time. So this is a per order discount basis, per order pricing trade agreements. On the flip side, you've got your purchase agreements. These effectively represent your term agreements with your suppliers. This is for purchasing over a number of orders, over an extended period of time, rather than a per order basis. So they're effectively contracts that are committing your organisation to buy products or services in a certain quantity over a defined period of time. So what you'd expect, your typical agreements, your contracts. So if I just show you some active ones here that we've got. Just on the flip side, so let's say look at the Microsoft. So this is rather than a trade agreement, this is a purchase agreement with Microsoft. And what I've got set up here is we've agreed with Microsoft that for this calendar year, so until 31st of December, we'll buy 100 Surface laptops at £1,400. But for that reason, because we're committing to 100, they'll give us a 20% discount. Now, obviously, if we don't then buy the 100 at the end, Microsoft might go, I'm going to give us some money, you need to pay more, whatever. But they've said it's maximum 100, you're not buying any more than. So if you try and buy 200, it's not going to work. So this is my duration of my contract and the pricing I've kicked in. I can actually see how my tracking. So I've said I've done 100, how many I've actually bought. So I've actually released 20. So I've done 20 of these already, and I've got 80 remaining. When I say released, what releasing is creating the order directly from this agreement. So if I just show you that now, I'm going to raise, I'm going to do 100. I'm going to do 100 by accident. I actually mean 10. I'm going to try and correct this. It's stopping me. So no, because you can't. And the reason that's in is because I've actually got a parameter to say enforce the maximum. So do not allow it to exceed the 100. No, it was a typo. I actually meant 10. I actually want to order 10. What I was going to do is create it directly from the agreement, a purchase order. So purchase order 708 has been created. Now, one of the key benefits of using purchase agreements, and if you think these documents are implemented, approved via workflow, so you can have that segregation of duties. You don't have to, but you can have that segregation, so you can ensure you maintain that segregation of duties to make sure you only put in approved contracts on the system as well. You can attach documents similar to how we did before with the quotes to show if any contract negotiations gone offline and you put them in the system, you want all the paperwork together. But ultimately the key benefit, because you've done all that work up front, the approval, the price negotiations, etc., who the supplier should be, it defaults all this information for users. So I've just created that order and it's actually sent it to Microsoft because I've done all that. I know what dimensions it's going to. It's been approved. Its quantity's been approved. So I have access to release this order. So I've done it. So what I've actually done, if I just close that one, I've just received the order now. So it's automatically emailed that order through to Microsoft for 10 Surface laptops from my purchase agreement. So all I did there was release an order for 10 and it's created a purchase order and sent it to the supplier. So again, it's really just having that, putting the effort in up front to get everything in set up for what you need. So I've got done my approvals already. The number of times we see manual processes requiring approval or checking every single time you go through, or even just one element of the process being manual, you're having to redo that. What I've just shown you here is you can have a request for quotation, which creates a purchase order, which is approved automatically, or it can even create a purchase agreement, which is automatically approved, which you can then release orders from again, automatically approved. So that approval process, having the whole chain, having the whole process managed on here with supplier collaboration as well, can really reduce that manual entry and manual input, the risk of people making it wrong, having to constantly evidence your internal governance and processes. It really does streamline that entire purchasing life cycle for you. This last thing, one thing I wanted to show is obviously we want to see how we're performing against the contracts. We can run reports to see how we're performing against consumption. But what I want to do is I want to have a look at some of my purchase agreement expiry dates. So what I'm going to do is look at my active purchase agreements. And I'm going to look here and go, okay, that's fine. These are my active purchase agreements that are expiring after today. That's fine. What I'm going to do is what's expiring in the next 30 days. And I've actually got some pre-saved filters here for you. So I've got purchase agreements expiring in less than 30 days and purchase agreements expiring in less than 60 days. Now on my workspace, I've actually got some of this information already. You can see I've got purchase agreements expiring less than 60 days, and I've got purchase agreements here as a query expiring less than 30. But actually, I want them the other way around. I'm just going to remove that. I'm just going to remove that one. So this is my workspace. I'm configuring it for what I need as my role. I want to see my purchase agreements that are expiring, and I want to see them the other way around. So I want to see purchase agreements. These are saved filters that I've done as well. So again, you can filter based on any of these columns and create your own filters. I want to see this as a table. So I'm going to add it to my workspace. The workspace I was just in was the purchase order. Workspace, just scroll down, see there's lots and lots of out of the box workspaces, so it really does give you everything you need. Purchase order confirmation workspace, and I want it as a list. I'm going to configure, and it's going to ask me what columns do you want in that list. It's going to add it to that table I've just done. That's fine. The standard ones are fine. And the other one I'm going to flip. I'm going to do 60. I actually want this as a title. Now this is again purchase order. I actually want this as a tile, and on the tile I want a count to show me how many days. And it's purchase agreements expiring in less than 60 days. And the reason I've done that is because I want to see how many are expiring. So I want to see what my workload's going to look like in the coming months. But the less than 30 days, I don't know how different. The less than 30 days. Oh, sorry. I want to see in the list because I want to see a little bit more detail. So I've added this now here and I've added it there. And so just to show you, you can add and tailor and customize these workspaces for what it is you need. So I've just filtered a subset of data and added it to my workspace. So I'm not having to go in each time, filter that list to get my data, whatever it is that you feel as a user you need, or you feel your users need, because these can be predefined templates and issued out as well. Whatever it is you think they need for their workspaces, that you can be published and made available to them. So again, it's just that presenting users with the information that they need for their job without them having to go looking for it. You can hang reports off the back of this, everything you need to just literally give them the one-stop shop. Come in here, I know what I'm doing in my day, and if there's something actually I've found out my job's role's slightly changed and I'm doing a little bit of something else, I can remove or add filters or queries and tiles like we've just shown there to really just make sure that I'm getting the most efficient out of my time as possible. And that comes to the end of the session.
I've got a question here, Paul, quickly.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
all right. Somebody's asked, are there any license issues with supplier collaboration?
They need a license. However, what you will typically find is it's the lowest level license they need, and 9 times out of 10 it's already handled within your existing license allocation. Obviously, it will depend on what licenses you have, but typically you have more than enough of the lowest level license, and they just use the lowest level. So I would say more often than not, no. Strictly they do, but you wouldn't notice. I'd be very surprised if you noticed any financial implication for it. Any more questions?
That's it, Paul. Thank you very much. Hope everybody found that informative. If you've got any further questions, please do drop us an email at hello@tisski.com. We will get back to you. And also, if you'd like to come along to our next live event in the series, that will be on the 23rd of February at the same time, so at 2 p.m. and the topic will be credit management. So again, just drop us an email at hello@tisski.com or just pop your email details into the chat and we can pick those up just now. So thanks again for joining us, and we hope that you found it useful. Thanks very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.